My topic today is syncretism of goddess in Hinduism and Buddhism. And here I will be talking about the syncretism of Durga and Tara from two different pantheons. So according to the word syncretism, it is the amalgamation of two or more schools of thought, culture, religion, and ideology. So the concept of female in the form of goddess is one of the earliest and widespread surviving customs of the ancient civilizations of the world. So the idea of the female figurine as a cultural continuity, it starts from Paleolithic era and to the modern times. The role of female as a mother or creator, protector or preserver also is found in the role of destroyer, or to preserve the good or over evil is the common in most of the ancient culture. So therefore the paper aims to understand the continuities and changes in the development of the concept of goddesses and her dual identities of benevolence and terrible in Durga and Tara. And it also tries to understand the syncretism and the rise of the worship of goddess in India when the deities existed as a cumulative figure of all traits and attributes, and how in the early medieval period saw the attributes dispersing into several folk deities and regional goddesses, and a further decline in her popularity as that of a supreme goddess. So the concept of mother goddess and the practice of the goddess worship were characteristics of the ancient culture around the world. And in the Mesopotamian civilization also we see was the goddess of war, nature, fertility, procreation and love. Inanna, Ishtar, and there were many other goddesses. And especially Inanna and Ishtar. Inanna is in the Akkadian silk and Ishtar is of a later time. They are seen standing on a lion and holding equivalent that of Ankush and Pasha. The mother goddess must have also played a dominant role in the Indus Valley, as seen from the various terracotta figurines and plaques found from many different Indus Valley sites. The mother figurines have elaborate hairstyles and wore girdles around their waists. And she is represented as the nature goddess and the fertility goddess. And she's completely different because of her elaborate hairstyle. She's completely different from that of the female figurine of terracotta which are found in the sites. This probably indicates some kind of household worship or cult. From Rigvedic period, also it is evident that there was a practice of worshipping nature. Nature was personified as both male and female and worshipped in anthropomorphic forms. Thus, the early period of transition saw the integration of the goddess into Hindu pantheon based on the belief that the human body is a beautiful universe, and the union of the male and female represents the union of earth and sky, yielding to high fertility. The importance of mother goddess continues in the Vedic traditions, where mother goddess was worshipped in many forms, like we have Prithvi, Bhudevi as the goddess of the earth and fertility, Aditi, goddess of different creation of different gods and demons, Usha, the goddess of dawn, Vak, the goddess of speech, and many more. In the epic period, we also find mother goddess. She underwent many changes, and she is referred to the new names like Lakshmi and Parvati. She was also known as the benevolent giver to her children. And in Mahabharata, we have mention of Devi in one of the stanzas as Tarini. So in Ramayana also, she has been worshipped by both Ram and Ravan during before they proceed for war, and she was also a protector. So goddess as supreme beings had until now been not been very much legitimized and absorbed into the main folds of religion and society. And she was not yet, we could see that she was not yet considered to be an individual deity. The earliest archaeological source of the goddess Durga was found from Nagar, that was dated to 1st century BC to 1st century CE, belonging to pre-Kushan era. And similar images from Kushan era was also found from Nagar in Rajasthan, where she is four-armed deity, which is dated to 1st century CE. And then next we also find the coins of Azis of an Indo-Scythian king dated to 1st century CE, where she is depicted as standing on a lotus and holding a lotus stalk, and the other hand is in a Katya Vilambata pose, with a lion also is seen in the forefront. On the reverse, there is a bull, which is considered to be the can be considered to be the Shiva's emblem. And even maybe she is depicting the goddess of Durga as Durga Simhavahini. Comparable images of the Devi from the Kushan period was also found from Besnagar and Mathura. And here she is named by different names like Nana, Anahita, Adroksho, who appears to have a very significant influence in the making of the image of the early goddesses in India. Here we can see the Kushan coins, where she's seated on a lion and she's holding a Ankush and a cornucopia. And the pre-Kushan and Kushan era Mahishasura-Mardani was not found to be stylistic, but simple in appearance, and can be said to be the forerunner of a precedent Devi who is described in Devi Mahamatya, and which was compiled in 4th to 5th century CE. Some of the Huvishka's coins also depict Devi as Uma, and she carries cornucopia and Matulunga. And here is the Kushan's sculpture of Mahishasura-Mardini, which is dated to 2nd century CE and found in Mathura region. During the Gupta period, under the with the coming of the Shaktism, we find her to be during the Kushan, after the Kushan period, like even the goddess Gupta period, we find that Purans are mentioning about Devi Mahamatya. Devi Durga has many mythologies in the Purans, Markandeya Puran especially, with different mythologies. Now with her 2 hands or 4 hands, which gave way to her iconography, which developed to reflect her several hands, and which shows the importance and supreme role within the Hindu pantheon. The 6th century CE also has Devi Mahamatya, who she is described as Durga, as the keeper of divine cosmic order, as the ultimate savior, Mahadevi Shakti. One of the Gupta coins of Chandragupta I depicts her seated on lion, that is king and queen coin type, and she is in the reverse, she is seated on a lion, and here on the obverse there is the king and queen. During the Gupta period also, there were various seals which were found with the word Durga written on it, which is depicting the true form of Mahishasura-Mardani, which is found from Bidari. And Durga is seen with attributes like Linga, Kshamala, Trishul, Kamandala, and this form of Devi that grew popular in most of the Indian centers, like whether it is East India, South India, or West India. So here we have one of the Mahishasura sculptures of the Pallava period, which is there in Mahabalipuram. Next. Then we have this in the mid 7th century, when there was the dynasties of many Rajput kings who were ruling, and we find these sculptures from Rajasthan, this is from Gujarat, and Orissa, South India, Karnataka. So we have many of becoming very popular during that time. In the Pal period, there were many centers of sculptural art which flourished in different regions of the extensive empire of Bihar, Bengal, and Orissa. And then now the goddess was depicted as very much adorned and ornamented with lots of stylistic feature. During the later Pala period, we also find that the rise of Tantrikism coming in, and we have Durga grew into a very prominent form with benevolent as well as a destroyer, and thus the sculptures of Kali also emerges. She is combined with tantric goddesses and new incarnations of the goddess, particularly with different functions, or the devotees were praying for different aspects of their life. So we have these Mahavidyas, goddesses like Kali, Chinnamasta, Tripura Sundari, Bhuvaneshwari, Bagala, Kamala, Matangini, and in the other regions like Katyayani, Kalyani, Amba, Uma, Chandi, Manasha, Hingala, Vaishnavi, and many more. It is only during the time of the Mahayana Buddhism of Tara, if we see the origin of Tara, so during the Kushan period, the Ionic phase of Buddhist art starts, and goddess Tara first appears in the Mahayana Buddhist traditions as the compassion of the people of the world. So she is also personified as a compassion or Karuna of Avalokiteshvara, and she is seen seated in Paryankasana, glancing towards Avalokiteshvara. With the coming of Tantrism, there were various sects of Buddhism which arises, and there one was Vajrayana Buddhism text, which refers her as female Bodhisattva, and in later period she appears as a female Buddha and mother. Tara is also described as the goddess of compassion and perfected wisdom in the earliest textual references, which is Manjushri Mulakalpa, which is dated to 5th to 8th century CE. Also furnishes her characteristic as a passive goddess, as a mother goddess, and she is holding a blue utpala or lotus. She's adorned with ornaments, and she displays Varada Mudra, and her color is depicted golden. Tara gained popularity and grew in prominence as a Buddhist goddess of benevolence. Her origin are often ascribed to have belonged to the Hindu pantheon as a minor deity. But she is also in Mahavidya considered to be the second to 10 Mahavidyas after goddess Kali. There is little evidence to suggest that the appearance of goddess Tara before 5th century CE in Buddhist tradition. But we have the account of Chinese traveler Wen Sang, who noticed the worship of Tara as a companion of Avalokiteshvara to have been widespread at Nalanda and its adjoining areas in the first half of 7th century CE. In Buddhism, Tara appears in two forms: as a benevolent deity and with similar character that of Devi Durga, and also in her terrible form similar to that of goddess Kali. So there are basic 5 Taras corresponding to 5 Dhyani Buddhas, and out of which 2 are benevolent and peaceful, and the other 3 are terrible and ferocious. The sculptural representation of Tara, as I said earlier, was started from 5th century CE during the late Gupta period. The earliest sculpture is found in a broken figure of the goddess, which is found from Sarnath, and which is right now situated in the Indian Museum, Kolkata. And in Nalanda, she is found in association with Avalokiteshvara on the north wall of the main temple, dated to 6th century CE. And the figure is not here right now. She is standing to the left of her consorts, sparingly jeweled and holding lotus stalk in her left hand. Another image from the 6th century CE found at the Nalanda Stupa number 3 demonstrates the typical features of Tara as she was described in the Arya Manjushri Mulakalpa. Although the face and the bust of the figure is, not very prominent, it has been damaged, but she is sitting in Paryankasana, where well decorated with ornaments, holding a utpala in her left hand, and exhibits the Varada Mudra, depiction is associated with Avalokiteshvara in which is dated to 6th century CE, Chalukya period, bud in her left and but merely shows the back of her right hand. And while Avalokiteshvara is found displaying Varadamudra. During the Pala period, under the patronage of the Pala kings, the Buddhism flourished, and it's because of syncretism, as understood from the name. Durgottarini Tara is a combination of Hindu goddess Durga and Buddhist goddess Tarini, which means someone who aids in overcoming the difficulties or danger. She is invoked with seeking safety from sorrow, imprisonment, and her mantra is said to free her devotees from binding chains and restraints. The influence of Durga on Tara's development is noticeable, especially in the iconography of Durgottarini Tara, and she's been described in Sadhan Mala, and she's supposed to be seated in Lalitasana with a very calm expression. Durgottarini Tara does not have a very prescribed particular asana. She sometimes is seen standing or even seated. In her upper left arm, she holds an apsara, noose, and in lower left, she holds Utpala. The upper right hand, she also has Ankush, and the lower right hand, there is a Varada Mudra. The goddess, if we consider to be coming to my final part, that is the importance of this study is that the female, the goddess as a deity was worshipped in daily ritual, but initially it was as the consort of more powerful male deities. Both the deities were invoked for her passive characteristics as a benevolent mother, protector, giver, and with the rise of Shaktism, they arose in different forms as a supreme deity who is omnipresent, omniscient, and benevolent and easy to worship. On the other hand, she is also seen as in the terrible form to drive away evil forces, and the benevolent character were later often flipped to highlight their terrible assemblages. But with the rise of Tantrism in the early medieval period, with the decline of Shakti movement, there was a shift as the regional and folk aspects of the goddess grew stronger and became more popular, and with the aid of local practices and patronages by the local chiefs also, who were patronizing these goddesses. And the holistic concept of the Divine Mother fragmented into various incarnations as smaller regional and folk goddesses with singular attributes and smaller spatial holds with very supreme power. While the concept of Durga and Tara as important major deities remained, the regional manifestation with their specific powers in response to the specific local concerns and troubles of the disciples also came in forefront. The development changes and the evolution of both the supreme deities, Durga and Tara, follow a very similar trajectory. And it would be enormous to conclude that Tara followed down the path of which was made by Durga, or vice versa. It is because the period of change and evolution of both the goddess coincide that similar reactions and reciprocation were faced with similar obstacles and movement of the then society, which highlights the syncretic relationship between the two and in the concept of a goddess. The goddess, albeit different in their iconographic features, mythology, and represents representatives of the Divine Mother Goddess as a protector, creator, and obstacle breaker. The two religions in question, Hinduism and Buddhism, while contested with each other, did also coexisted and co-depended on each other, borrowing and exchanging concept, ideas, features, iconographies, and more. This syncretic relationship between the two is very noticeable in their approach to the mother goddess figure as seen is in the paper. The idea of a goddess, through ancient and widespread, reached its peak under the two religions in the early historic period due to the strong popularity of Shaktism at that time, and of course the patronage of the kings. The fact that the compelling competing religious dogma choose to present their supreme mother goddesses figures in the similar manner with similar arcs and concept, portray the need and belief of the common man who were the target invoked through simple mantras or recitation, irrespective of class, caste, gender, second to men. And then with the coming up of different problems, there appeared problems in the society that took place. And later on, when they declined, the lack of centralized power, the strong hold of the dynasties also led to the decline of Shaktism, and it moved from supreme deities to fragmented regional and folk goddess with singular attributes. Thank you.